I never thought a single joke could destroy everything I had left with the man I loved. Even now, when I replay that day in my mind, I can still hear the laughter, loud, careless, echoing across the yard, right before the moment that changed our family forever. My name doesn't matter yet. What matters is the truth I'm finally ready to tell. The truth I avoided for months because I didn't want anyone to know what really happened during that family hangout. The one where I made a joke that should never have left my mouth. We were all seated around the patio table. Drinks, barbecue, music, nothing unusual. His brother was telling one of his exaggerated stories again. The kind he delivered with so much confidence that people couldn't help but laugh. And maybe that's why I said it. Maybe I was trying too hard to keep up with the energy in the room. Maybe I was trying to look fun, relaxed, normal. I made one comment, one line, one attempt at humor that landed like a grenade. I said my husband had a tiny penis, and his brother's was 4 times bigger. The laughter stopped instantly, but the silence didn't last long. My husband didn't yell. He didn't ask why I said it. He just looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, vacant, cold, as if something inside him had finally snapped loose. I didn't know then what that stare meant. I didn't know what he was planning. I didn't know what that single moment would lead to in the next hour or during the nights that followed. So now I need to ask you, what do you think pushes someone past their limit? How much humiliation can a person carry before something inside them breaks? And when the truth starts spilling out, who do you believe? The one who speaks first, or the one who finally speaks honestly? Because I'm ready to tell you what really happened after the moment everyone thought was just an awkward joke. I'm ready to share the part of the story only I know. And once you hear my confession, you will never look at this family the same way again. Before we start, subscribe now. The rest of this story gets more intense than anything you're expecting, and you'll want to hear every second.
Welcome to True Crime Diaries Vault, the place where every file tells a story, and every story pulls you deeper into the unknown. Here, we unlock real-life mysteries, revisit chilling investigations, and open the vault on crimes that still haunt families, detectives, and entire communities. Every episode takes you inside the minds of criminals, the footsteps of victims, and the evidence that changes everything. If you crave true stories, real cases, and the truth hidden in the shadows, then you're in the right place. This is not just another crime channel. This is True Crime Diaries Vault, where every secret eventually comes to light. Subscribe and step into the vault.
I never imagined that one careless line, said in front of family, could change everything about how I see myself, my marriage, and the people I thought I trusted most. Even now, when I recount the moment in my head, I can almost feel the heat of the grill, hear the laughter from the yard, and taste the bitterness of words that should have stayed in silence. My name is Eliza Carter, and this is my story, the story of how a joke changed a normal Sunday gathering into the worst day of my life, and how saying something I thought was funny pushed my husband into a place I didn't understand. Before we get to that, I need you to think about something. How far would someone go when their pride has been bruised in front of everyone they know? How deep can resentment go beneath the surface of laughter and family banter? And what happens when those buried tensions finally express themselves in a way no one can take back? If you're curious about how things unfolded, why words can hurt more than knives, and how relationships can collapse with one careless moment, make sure you subscribe now so you don't miss a second of this story. Yes, subscribe now, because this tale raises questions most people are afraid to ask about jealousy, insecurity, and the fragile balance of trust in a marriage. Growing up, I always thought love was grand gestures and private jokes shared between two people who trusted each other completely. When I met my husband, Andrew, I felt that dream was real. We laughed at the same jokes, we dreamed together, we planned weekends and vacations. People said we were a good couple, a couple who understood each other, but people rarely see what's below the surface. On the outside, we looked normal. We had a home, a dog, and friends who invited us to gatherings and family hangouts. We hosted barbecues with his brother and his nieces. We toasted in backyards and laughed by the pool. Most of all, we looked happy. But beneath that picture-perfect veneer was a pattern I didn't recognize at first. A pattern of subtle tension shaped by comparison, insecurity, and unspoken rivalry. You might ask yourself, when does friendly banter turn into something that eats away at a person from the inside? Does constant comparison make someone feel inadequate? And if so, how can a partner respond when those buried feelings are brought out in front of people who meant everything to them? If those questions make you wonder, subscribe right now because you're about to witness details most people don't talk about. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me say something quickly that might matter to someone watching right now. If you or someone you care about has been struggling with intimacy, confidence, or performance issues, I placed a powerful resource in the description. It's called the Phoenix, an at-home, science-supported device designed specifically to help men rebuild their sexual health. If this is something you've quietly worried about, or if you know someone who needs it, check the link in the description. It might genuinely help. Let me take you back to the beginning of that afternoon. The sun was warm, the smell of charcoal floated in the air, and my sister-in-law placed bowls on the picnic table. My husband stood beside his brother, Greg, both holding beers, telling the sort of stories that get louder and rougher with each repetition. Greg has always been the charismatic one, tall, strong, confident, and the kind of person who commands attention the moment he steps into a room. If you've ever had a family with a sibling rivalry, you know that older or more confident relatives can unintentionally overshadow others. In our family, that was Greg. Always bigger, always funnier, always the one whose achievements were noticed. I watched them laughing together, and I thought nothing of it at the time. But I should have, because what looks like harmless teasing on the surface can sometimes mask deeper resentments layered over years. You're probably wondering right now, how does confidence affect personal relationships? Can subtle comparison slowly erode someone's self-esteem without anyone knowing until it explodes? It's worth thinking about because this is exactly where my story begins to get complicated. For as long as we'd been together, I had tried to support Andrew whenever he mentioned feeling overlooked or unappreciated. I told him I loved him just the way he was. I reminded him he was handsome, smart, and capable. But sometimes, words aren't enough to cover a lifetime of self-doubt or the echo of hurt feelings left from old rivalries. Research shows that jealousy and insecurity in relationships can intensify emotional responses, particularly when a person feels threatened or compared unfavorably to someone else, even unintentionally, and that can fuel conflict or threats of violence in extreme cases of emotional distress. If you've ever stood on the edge of fear, watching someone you love change right before your eyes, you'll know how fragile the human psyche can be. That Sunday afternoon, as we were all joking and laughing with friends and family, I made a comment I thought was funny, a joke about my husband's body in comparison to his brother's. In the moment, it slipped out, laughter followed. But the laughter was brittle. It wasn't warm or shared. It was the kind of laughter that shifts the attention from one person to another so quickly that the tension can be seen in the silence that follows. The backyard grew quieter after that line. I saw it in Andrew's face first, a flash of embarrassment, then something sharper, something raw that didn't fit the easygoing man I thought I knew so well. And that moment, that brief, terrible moment of recognition, is what started everything. I still remember his eyes, not angry at first, just distant, as if he was replaying every time in his life he felt less than someone else. Maybe I should have stopped right there. Maybe I should have tried to fix what I had said. But at the time, I thought humor could smooth over any awkwardness. And so I laughed again, hoping laughter could erase the awkwardness I had created. You might ask now, can one joke really cause so much pain? How often do seemingly harmless remarks trigger deep emotional wounds in people who are already unsure of themselves? If those questions intrigue you, don't forget to subscribe again, because in the next parts of the story, you'll see how a simple comment stirs years of bottled frustration. Up until that moment, I didn't realize how easily pride can be wounded, or how years of comparison and insecurity can ferment in silence, waiting for the slightest spark to ignite a reaction no one expects. I didn't see the countless times Andrew had bristled at Greg's success, or the quiet apologies he would mutter after nights when family comments hit him harder than anyone knew. I didn't see the nighttime arguments about nothing, the old competitions that bled into our everyday life, or the way Andrew sometimes flinched when compliments went to someone else. In the weeks before that barbecue, I had noticed little changes in him. Shorter tempers, quieter evenings, cold shoulders after nothing seemed to matter. It wasn't violent, not yet. Just an unsettled storm of pride and doubt. Research on domestic conflict highlights how patterns of jealousy and comparison can lead to aggressive outbursts when emotional wounds are exposed in front of others. It's not always physical, but the emotional reaction can be intense, charged with long-held resentments finally finding a way out. Now, I ask you, have you ever seen someone you love retreat into themselves after being embarrassed in front of others? Do you think small moments of humiliation can echo long after the laughter fades? How would you react if someone poked at the most vulnerable part of your identity in front of people you care about? These are the questions I was forced to face that afternoon. And if you want answers, subscribe once more because the story is just beginning. The afternoon sun hung low as plates were passed around and bottles were opened. Greg, unaware of the subtle change in the air, clapped Andrew on the back and made another joke, one that had nothing to do with bodies but everything to do with how he was admired by others. The group laughed again, and I glanced at my husband's face, noticing the slight tightening of his jaw, the way his eyes looked like someone recalling every moment they felt less than someone they loved. Little did I know that this family backyard scene, the kind of ordinary moment any family could have, was carrying under it months, maybe years of emotional pressure. It was a pressure I failed to see, a pressure that would soon come out in ways I could never have expected. Subscribe now because what you're about to hear next will make you question everything you think you know about jealousy, about comparison, and about how fragile human pride can truly be. I'll show you how a normal family gathering, one that started with laughter and sunshine, shifted into a moment that led to events I never thought I would survive. Events that changed every one of us forever. After that barbecue joke, nothing violent happened right away. But the tension that had been under the surface for years began to rise in ways I hadn't noticed before. We were on the brink of the family gathering that changed everything. But the strain between us had already been building long before that Sunday. People often think arguments and relationships come out of nowhere, but that isn't true. Most of the time they grow gradually like cracks in concrete that eventually widen with every shift and every weight put on them. In the months leading up to that barbecue, my husband, Andrew, and I had been arguing more often than we used to. At first, it was small things. I'd leave a cup in the sink, he'd snap. I'd mention spending the weekend with friends, he'd frown. What bothered me most was that his reactions didn't match the situation, and no conversation seemed to make it better. Sometimes he'd accuse me of flirting with his brother, Greg, even when nothing had happened. He'd bring up casual compliments I'd made about Greg's success, or how we joked together at holiday parties. It didn't make sense at the time, but looking back now, I can see how those accusations were rooted in insecurity and how jealousy had slowly taken residence in his mind. Jealousy isn't just a fleeting thought or a passing feeling. Social scientists describe it as a complex emotional response tied to attachment, self-worth, and the perceived threat to a relationship when a rival seems to have advantages a person feels they lack. In intimate partnerships, jealousy often triggers emotional conflict, sometimes even violence, especially when it is linked with insecurity or fear of loss. Research on intimate partner jealousy suggests that when someone suspects their partner might prefer someone else, real or imagined, the emotional response can escalate into controlling behaviors and relationship distress. This is particularly true where gender norms or power dynamics make jealousy feel like a measure of love or ownership in a partnership. With Andrew, those feelings didn't appear suddenly. They had been there for years, just planted deep enough that only subtle signs showed up at first. Like the time we had lunch with Greg and his girlfriend, and once I told a story about a funny conversation I had with him at work. Andrew's face tightened, but he brushed it off. Only later did he say to me in private that my little praise felt like a comparison, even though I hadn't meant it that way. When someone constantly compares themselves to a sibling, especially if that sibling has always received more attention or praise growing up, it can leave lasting scars. Studies show that when one sibling seems favored, the other may develop lower self-esteem and insecure attachment patterns that persist into adult relationships. In our case, Greg had always been the golden boy, taller, more outgoing, more successful in career and social life, effortlessly charismatic. Once I pointed that out during family dinners, it became less of an observation and more of a painful reminder of everything Andrew felt he wasn't. You're probably wondering right now, how does comparison within families affect a person's self-worth? Why might someone react more strongly to jokes or comments about themselves when a sibling is present? These aren't just random questions. They cut to the core of what jealousy does. Jealousy isn't just about envy. It's about the fear of losing status, affection, or love. It's tied to past experiences of feeling lesser, unseen, or overshadowed by someone else. People who carry these feelings often find it hard to let go of perceived slights, no matter how minor. And when these emotions aren't expressed or resolved, they can turn into resentment that waits quietly until it finds a spark. Our arguments became discussions about messaging and late-night calls. I had friends at work, male and female, and Andrew began questioning texts I exchanged with them, especially if I mentioned conversations where they had praised me or shown admiration for my work. He started asking for my phone, checking it more than once. I didn't mind it at first. I thought it was normal sharing. But when it became the standard reaction after every friendly conversation, I realized it was coming from a place of fear. Fear that someone else was a rival for my attention, or that I was unreachable in some emotional way that he saw as threatening. Have you ever watched someone withdraw from connections they once cherished? Have you ever witnessed a partner insist on knowing where you are, who you're talking to, what you're smiling at? When that happens day after day, it creates a slow burn in the relationship, a burn that people outside may never see, but one that eats at trust and peace. Many nights, arguments would end with what seemed like laughter or calm apologies, but underneath there were unsaid words and unresolved tension. Other experts have pointed out that jealousy in relationships can combine with emotional dependence and lack of emotional regulation to fuel conflict and psychological distress. People struggling with emotional dependence may react with increased jealousy when they feel threatened, even if the threat is only perceived, not real. In the weeks before the hangout, we argued about everything and nothing. At first, it was about my friendships. Then it became about comments I supposedly didn't think through, jokes I made, reminiscing about old conversations that weren't meant to hurt. Each time, he would retreat into silence or drink more than usual after those discussions. He stopped going to meet friends, stopped planning outings with us as a couple. I sensed he was isolating himself, and me. But I didn't see how deep the feelings had rooted until the day before the family gathering. He called me while I was running errands, voice low and flat, accusing me of preferring Greg's company to his. I tried to calm him down, reminding him that my relationship with his brother was always friendly, not romantic. But he didn't want calm answers. He wanted reassurance that he was better, more interesting, more lovable, and more desirable. He wanted proof that I would choose him first, above any comparisons. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone starts seeing a rival in every conversation they don't wholly control? Or what happens when a partner begins to question harmless interactions as threats to the relationship? It's not just a matter of ego or pride. It's a deeper battle with insecurity and personal worth. We barely slept the night before the barbecue. I lay in bed thinking how two people who once planned a future together could be having the same argument over and over, feeling like neither of us was listening or understood. I thought about all the dinners where his comments had cut deeper than mine ever had, where a joke had been mistaken for betrayal, where a friendly text message had become evidence of wrongdoing. I want to ask you right now, when does concern turn into control? And when does jealousy stop being about fear of loss and start becoming a cage that traps both partners? If you want to understand the answers with me as this story unfolds, please subscribe now because the next part gets more revealing. The morning of the hangout was on a Saturday. I woke before him, made coffee, and tried to keep the mood light. I had cooked his favorite dish, put fresh flowers on the kitchen table, and tried to talk about neutral topics, the dog's new tricks, the weather, the upcoming holiday plans. But beneath the small talk was a tension neither of us knew how to speak about without triggering a reaction. I watched him glance at his phone repeatedly. He flicked through photos and messages, not saying a word. I didn't know at the time that he was replaying old conversations in his mind, moments of laughter, times when I had smiled at a story from another man, even times when I praised Greg for something he'd done. To him, those weren't just memories. They were comparisons that stung and undermined his confidence. For many people, sibling rivalries calm down with age. But in some relationships, old patterns of competition can carry over into adulthood. Research suggests that differences in how siblings are treated, or how attention was distributed in childhood, can influence self-worth and attachment styles later in life. If one sibling feels less valued or appreciated, It may affect how they perceive threats or competition in adult relationships. By the time we arrived at the barbecue, the smiles were forced. My sister-in-law welcomed us warmly. The food was delicious, and everyone chatted about neutral things, summer plans, kids' school events, updates about work. But I watched Andrew stick close to me. Every time I laughed at something Greg said, he looked as though a small but sharp ache passed through him. While people around us enjoyed the sunshine and music, I felt the temperature between us drop. The air around us wasn't anger, not yet, but it was strained, fragile, like a mirror that could crack from the slightest pressure. When I paused to glance at him, I saw his hand shake ever so, slightly when someone lifted a toast, and once or twice he muttered a quiet comment that I could barely hear. You might be wondering, how does a person go from lightheartedness to tension without shouting? It's those subtle shifts, the silence where laughter used to be, the gaze that lingers a moment too long, the breath that tightens without explanation. These are the signs not of open conflict, but unresolved noise beneath the surface. If you're following along, eager to know where this leads, and ready for the moments that follow this tense gathering, make sure you hit subscribe again. This story isn't just about an argument. It's about the unraveling of trust, the weight of emotional wounds, and what happens when a single comment ignites years of unspoken pain. Everyone greeted each other, hugged, laughed, and took photos together. But I felt the weight of every glance, every shared joke that had nothing to do with us, and every tiny shift in his expression as though he was watching for signs of approval on someone else's face instead of mine. That's when I realized how deeply comparison and jealousy had woven themselves into the fabric of our relationship. Not overtly, not with yelling or demands, but quietly, day by day, until the barbecue afternoon became a flashpoint for all those unseen emotions to emerge. As the party continued, I noticed his gaze follow every interaction I had with anyone else. Not with suspicion exactly, but with a look that seemed to assess whether I was more comfortable with other people than with him. That assessment, repeated too often, chips away at the foundation of trust, the same trust we had once built our life upon. So let me ask you now, how do you know when jealousy is drowning a relationship from the inside? When does fear of being replaced turn into constant monitoring of your partner's attention? These questions are not easy, but they are real, and they're central to what happened next, as we entered the most critical moments of that day. If you want the next part, the point where everything changes, subscribe now. You won't want to miss how the tension finally reveals itself, and how the events that followed rewrote our family story forever. I remember the beginning of that family hangout so clearly that it almost feels like my mind refuses to let it fade. Everything looked calm, harmless, the kind of afternoon where nobody expects trouble. The grill was already sizzling when we arrived. I could smell peppered chicken, roasted corn, and that heavy charcoal scent that always clings to clothes. Music played from an old speaker, nothing too loud, just enough to fill the quiet space between conversations. Kids ran around the yard. The sun was lowering, giving everything a warm orange glow. You would think it was a perfect moment. You would think nothing could go wrong. But you would be wrong. His brother, Marcus, was already in the center of attention as usual, laughing, talking loudly, telling stories like he always did. My husband, Daniel, hovered nearby, staying close enough to look involved, but far enough not to stand next to him. That distance was a habit. He never stood beside Marcus if he could avoid it. People greeted me. I smiled. I looked normal, but inside I could feel Daniel watching me, judging every move I made. I noticed him flinch every time someone laughed at one of Marcus's jokes. I noticed the tightness in his shoulders when Marcus slapped him on the back. I noticed the way he kept checking his cup like he needed something stronger than what he was drinking. Maybe I should have paid more attention. Maybe I should have walked away and taken a moment alone. But I stayed, pretending nothing was wrong, because that is what I always did. An hour passed. Drinks flowed. Voices got louder. Marcus started teasing everyone, even his own mother. People laughed easily, too easily. That's how alcohol works. It removes caution and adds courage nobody asked for. Then he turned to me. Your husband used to cry when Dad made us race. He always came last, he said, grinning. Everyone laughed. It was meant to be lighthearted. But Daniel didn't laugh. He froze. I saw it. I felt it. I touched his arm and tried to make it playful. Come on, it's just a story. He shook my hand off. Just a small movement, nothing aggressive. But it stung. Marcus kept going. Everyone was relaxed. Everyone but Daniel. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me say something quickly that might matter to someone watching right now. If you or someone you care about has been struggling with intimacy, confidence, or performance issues, I placed a powerful resource in the description. It's called the Phoenix, an at-home, science-supported device designed specifically to help men rebuild their sexual health. If this is something you've quietly worried about, or if you know someone who needs it, check the link in the description. It might genuinely help. The moment built slowly, like the pressure in a room changing without anyone else noticing. Someone joked about body size. Someone else commented on gym routines. And before I even thought it through, I opened my mouth. The words were light, thoughtless, careless. Please, Daniel shouldn't talk about size. Even his brother has, well, way more than him. I even laughed. I don't know why. Everything stopped. It was like someone hit pause on the whole gathering. A couple of people forced a laugh, but it was weak. Marcus raised his eyebrows. Two of his cousins looked away. Daniel turned to me slowly, and I swear there was no expression on his face. Nothing. Just a blank stare that felt colder than anything he had ever said to me. He wasn't breathing through his nose anymore, only his mouth. A shallow, shaking inhale, then another. His fists tightened, not raised, just closed, and something changed in his eyes. He pushed the chair back, hard. It scraped against the concrete, loud enough to break whatever fragile attempt at laughter was still floating in the air. He walked away without a word, straight toward the back of the house. I followed him. Of course I followed him. I thought he just needed space. I thought he just felt embarrassed. I thought I could fix it by apologizing. Daniel stopped beside the shed, shoulders rising and falling fast. Daniel, please. I didn't mean it like that. He didn't turn. He just said, you said it in front of everyone. I stepped closer. It was a joke. A joke about me, he said. His voice shook. Not loud, not strong, just cracked. I didn't know it would upset you, I whispered. He finally turned around. His eyes were red, not from crying, but from holding something in too hard for too long. Do you know what it's like, he said slowly, to grow up being laughed at by your own family? To be compared to Marcus every single day? To feel like less of a man every time he walks into a room? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. He stepped closer, too close. You knew, and you still said that. Before I could answer, someone approached us. Marcus. Of all people, Marcus. He raised his hands like he wanted to calm things down. Hey, man, she didn't mean it. Relax. Daniel's head snapped toward him. That single movement alone told me this wasn't about relaxing anymore. You think this is funny? Daniel asked. No, Marcus said softly. But it's not worth ruining the night over. Daniel laughed. Not a normal laugh. A hollow, broken one. You've ruined every night of my life, he said. I stepped between them. Please, both of you stop. This is stupid. Please. But Daniel pushed past me. He went straight for Marcus. Everything happened fast and slow at the same time. I could see Daniel's hand grabbing Marcus's shirt. I could hear Marcus saying, calm down, bro. I could see the guests rushing toward us. I shouted Daniel's name, but he didn't hear me. Or maybe he didn't want to. Marcus tried to pull away. Daniel swung first. Marcus blocked it and shoved him back. People started screaming. Children were pulled away. Chairs fell. The music kept playing like nothing was happening. And then, in that 1 second, everything changed. Daniel found a broken bottle on the ground. No one knows where it came from. No one saw who dropped it. He grabbed it like he'd been waiting for it all night. I screamed his name. Marcus stepped back. My heart stopped. The world narrowed to that moment. Daniel's hand gripping glass. Marcus's hands raised. My voice cracking. There's seconds in life that rewrite everything that comes after. This was one of them. And what happened next? I wasn't prepared for it. Not even close. The moment Daniel lifted that broken bottle, everything around us collapsed into noise. I remember a scream, maybe mine, maybe someone else's. I remember the frantic rush of feet on the pavement. I remember someone grabbing my arm so hard my skin bruised later. And I remember the sound of glass cutting air. A sharp sweep, a breath held, a body stumbling back. Marcus didn't fall immediately. He leaned forward first, like he was confused about what had just happened. Then he put his hand to his side, looked down, and the shock on his face told me exactly what I didn't want to know. There was blood, real blood, not a tiny cut, not a scrape. Blood that soaked through his shirt in seconds. People ran. People yelled for towels. People shouted Daniel's name like he had suddenly become a stranger they needed to restrain. I moved toward Marcus, but his cousin pushed past me, pressing cloth against the wound. Someone else called for help. Another person started crying. A chair collapsed under the weight of panicking adults. The music still played in the background, completely out of place. And in the middle of all that chaos, Daniel stood still. No shaking, no shock, no expression, just stillness, like he couldn't believe what he had done, or like he had expected this moment for a long time. I kept asking myself, what have I done? What pushed him to this? Could I have stopped it before it got this far? Please subscribe. I need you to stay with me through this part. Please don't leave now. Please hit subscribe. This is where everything becomes clear. Subscribe because what comes next will explain everything you thought you understood. When I turned to Daniel, he finally moved. He lifted his hands slowly, staring at the blood on them. Not Marcus's blood, the bottle had cut his own hand too. A long slice across his palm, dripping down his wrist. He whispered, I didn't mean... But before he finished the sentence, his mother ran at him, screaming, Look at what you've done! Look at your brother! Look at him! She shoved him hard. He didn't resist. He didn't defend himself. He just stood there and took it, as if he believed he deserved every push, every insult. Some family members blamed alcohol. Some blamed me. Some blamed childhood issues they never addressed. And almost everyone blamed Daniel. But no one knew the full truth. Not yet. A cousin grabbed my arm. This is your fault. Why would you say something like that? I broke, right there, in front of everyone. I fell to my knees and cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. The weight of what had happened crushed every part of me, because deep down, I knew my joke didn't create this. It only exposed something that had been building for years. Minutes passed, maybe seconds, maybe hours, I don't know, and the police finally arrived. 2 officers walked in with serious faces, stepping over spilled drinks and broken plates. They looked around, assessing the scene with quick, practiced movements. One officer approached Marcus, who was conscious but barely able to stand. Another officer turned to Daniel. What happened here? Daniel opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I answered instead. It was an accident, he didn't mean. Daniel cut me off, quietly. No, it wasn't an accident. Everyone froze again. The officer stepped closer. Sir, are you saying you intentionally harmed him? Daniel stared at the ground. Then he said something that changed everything. I didn't come here to hurt him, but I knew today wasn't going to end well. That sentence shook the room. The officer asked to see his hands. Daniel lifted them, blood still dripping. What led to this? Start from the beginning, the officer said. Daniel took a slow breath, then another, and then he finally spoke. And what he said shattered whatever I thought I knew about him. He told them he had been struggling for months, feeling worthless, feeling overshadowed, feeling like he was losing himself. He told them he found messages on my phone months ago, harmless messages, but ones he twisted into something bigger in his mind. He told them he thought I admired Marcus more than him. He told them the joke was the final push after a long day filled with thoughts he couldn't control. He admitted he had typed a message earlier that day when he never sent. I still remember the officer reading it out loud from Daniel's phone. I can't keep pretending I'm fine. One day I'm going to snap. Hearing that made my stomach twist. I never knew he felt that close to collapsing. I never saw the signs clearly enough. The officers took his phone and scrolled through more messages. Ones he sent to a friend at 2 a.m. days before. She keeps laughing at things I'm insecure about. She doesn't understand how much damage she does. I'm losing her and losing myself with her. I felt sick. I felt guilty. I felt terrified. Was I really the trigger? Was this all building long before my joke? Could he have hurt someone even without my words? Please don't leave the story now. Subscribe so you don't miss what happened next. Please hit subscribe. I want you to understand the truth. Subscribe before the next part, because the next minutes change everything. Some family members blamed me openly, saying my words stabbed deeper than any broken bottle. Others blamed Daniel, saying he'd always had a temper nobody wanted to address. A few blamed Marcus for provoking him for years. It was a battlefield of accusations. I sat on the ground against the wall after the officers separated everyone. I could hear everything, but couldn't process any of it. I kept replaying the moment in my mind, me laughing, people staring, Daniel freezing. It was like my brain wanted to punish me by looping it again and again. The officers took Daniel aside. One of them asked, "Did you attack him intentionally?" Daniel shook his head, then nodded, then shook it again. He couldn't even settle on an answer. "It wasn't something I planned," he finally said. But when she said that in front of everyone, something inside me just broke. My chest tightened hearing him say that. The officer wrote it down. I knew what that meant. A confession. Not full, not clear, but enough. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me say something quickly that might matter to someone watching right now. If you or someone you care about has been struggling with intimacy, confidence, or performance issues, I placed a powerful resource in the description. It's called the Phoenix, an at-home, science-supported device designed specifically to help men rebuild their sexual health. If this is something you've quietly worried about, or if you know someone who needs it, check the link in the description. It might genuinely help. Marcus was lifted onto a stretcher and carried away. His mother followed him, sobbing. The rest of the family watched with a mixture of anger, fear, and disbelief. I looked at Daniel one last time before they walked him toward the patrol car. His eyes met mine, tired, defeated, lost. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never wanted this." And just as I stepped forward to reach him, the officer closed the car door. That moment ended the life we had before. Everything after was a different world. What happened next changed even more. And the truth that came out in the investigation, nobody was prepared for it. When the police separated us that night, everything felt unreal. The flashing lights, the shouting, the panic. Yet somehow the world felt muted, as if I were floating above it, watching myself fall apart. They put me in one patrol car and Daniel in another. His mother kept yelling that I shouldn't be allowed to leave. His aunt shouted that both of us should be arrested. Someone else kept repeating that Marcus needed surgery immediately. And as they drove me to the station, one thought kept replaying in my head. How did a joke, one stupid, careless joke, and this way, please, if you're still listening, subscribe. Please hit that button, don't leave me now. Subscribe because what I'm about to say next explains everything people kept hidden for years. Please subscribe so you don't miss what comes after this. When we arrived at the station, an officer led me into a small interview room. A plain table, 2 metal chairs, a dim fluorescent light that hung above us. It felt like a room designed to strip people of any comfort, any confidence. The officer pressed the record button. Then he said, "Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out." So I did. I told him about the hangout, about the argument, about the bottle, about Marcus collapsing. But as soon as I finished, he asked a question that caught me off guard. "Tell me about the messages between you and Marcus." My heart dropped. Of course they looked through my phone. I handed it to them earlier without thinking. The officer slid a printed sheet across the table. Screenshots of messages between me and Marcus from months ago. Flirty jokes, late-night check-ins, harmless teasing. Nothing romantic, nothing sexual, nothing that crossed a line. But taken out of context, they looked terrible. The officer leaned forward. "Did your husband know about these?" I nodded slowly. He saw some of them, but I swear nothing happened. We just joked sometimes. Was your husband jealous of his brother? Jealous wasn't even the right word. It was deeper than that. It was years of living in the same shadow. Daniel always said Marcus got everything easily, attention, friends, women, confidence, even support from the family. Daniel always felt like the second option, the afterthought, the one people forgot about until they needed him. Then the officer asked, "Do you think your joke tonight brought out something he's been holding in?" I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want to blame myself, but I also knew the truth wasn't simple. You tell me, if someone carries years of insecurity, does one joke make them explode? Or does one joke finally reveal the pressure they've been hiding? What do you think? Who carries the weight of responsibility in moments like this? The officer left the room. Another officer came in, older, calmer, almost sympathetic. She placed a folder in front of me. Inside were photos, the broken bottle, blood on the patio tile, the chair that flipped when people ran, a cracked phone, Daniel's. She told me they were building a timeline. They already interviewed 6 family members. Everyone had a different story. Some claimed Daniel attacked without warning. Some said Marcus provoked him. Some said alcohol played part. One insisted Daniel had been tense the entire day. One line from a witness stood out. So clearly I still hear it. He didn't look drunk. He looked angry. Then the officer asked me, "Did Daniel ever hurt you before?" My body tensed. Not physically, not in a way that left marks, but emotionally, yes. Through silent treatment, through guilt, through accusations he never let go of, through checking my phone at night when he thought I was asleep. Do you think that counts as violence? Do emotional wounds matter as much as physical ones? Should I have left earlier? Would this night have turned out differently if I did? Please stay with me. Hit subscribe before the truth becomes too complicated. Subscribe because this only gets deeper from here. Please subscribe. I need you to understand all of it. After they finished questioning me, they moved on to Daniel. I didn't hear his interview, but the officers discussed parts of it later, and his words painted a picture I wasn't ready to accept. He admitted he felt pushed aside his whole life. He admitted he had been comparing himself to Marcus for years. He admitted he checked my messages because he wanted to make sure I wasn't laughing at him behind his back. He admitted he felt like a failure as a husband. Then he said something that made the entire room silent when the officer repeated it to me. When she made that joke, I felt like she confirmed every fear I ever had. Meanwhile, Marcus was in the hospital. Doctors stitched the wound. They said he was lucky. 1 inch deeper, and he would have lost his kidney. Police collected forensic evidence. The bottle, fingerprints, blood spatters, even the position of the chairs. The patterns showed something important. Marcus was walking toward Daniel, not attacking him. And Daniel swung his arm outward, not backward, meaning the injury wasn't self-defense. It wasn't random. It was an action that came from anger, not fear. In court, everything became even harder to face. Daniel's mother cried on the stand. Marcus limped in slowly, holding his side. The prosecutor read out Daniel's messages from months earlier, the ones where he said he couldn't handle feeling less of a man. When I testified, my hand shook so badly I could barely hold the microphone. The lawyer asked, "Why did you make that joke?" I didn't have a good answer. I could only say the truth. I thought it was harmless. I didn't know it would trigger something he held inside for years. Then the lawyer asked the question I dreaded most. "Do you think you played a role in what happened?" I couldn't answer. I could barely breathe. What would you say if you were in my place? Would you admit guilt? Would you protect yourself? Would you protect him? The jury watched me cry. Daniel watched me cry. His family watched me cry. When the verdict came, it didn't bring relief. It didn't bring closure. It didn't fix anything. But it revealed one truth we all needed to face. After the trial, after the verdict, after the lawyers left the courtroom and the cameras stopped rolling, that's when I began to understand the truth about what really happened. I had always told myself that the joke was harmless, that it was a silly thing said in the moment. But what I discovered in the weeks after the conviction was not so simple. It wasn't just one moment. It was layers of unspoken history. Sit with that thought for a second, that what you see happening in front of you is not the truth, but the result of 100 tiny moments that have never been acknowledged. Please subscribe right now if you're still watching. Please hit subscribe because you need to see what comes next. Subscribe so you understand the real emotional toll of hidden wounds. Subscribe now if you want to hear the truth that people rarely talk about. During the investigation, police uncovered something I didn't even know existed. A series of voice memos Daniel had recorded in the months before the barbecue. They weren't threatening in the way people assume, but they were raw, deeply personal reflections on how he saw himself and how he believed others saw him. In one voice file, Daniel's voice cracked. "I feel like everyone laughs with me, but never at me. I want them to see me not as the quiet one, but as someone worth being proud of." In another, he said, "Every time Marcus walks into the room, I feel invisible. I know it's stupid, but I can't help it." He wasn't confessing hatred. He was confessing pain. You might wonder, did Marcus actually encourage his brother's insecurity? I asked that question too. When detectives interviewed him, they discovered messages Marcus had sent to friends. Messages where he joked about Daniel constantly. Light teasing, telling stories about childhood races Daniel always lost. Conversations that sounded like friendly ribbing to most people, but to someone carrying years of humiliation, those messages weren't jokes. They were reminders of never being enough. Psychologists describe this as cumulative emotional wounding, when small comments and comparisons, repeated over time, erode a person's self-worth. It doesn't take one big insult to break someone. It takes 1,000 tiny cuts. Researchers have found that when someone's self-esteem is repeatedly undermined, especially by people they care about, emotional regulation falters and reactions can become unpredictable and uncontrollable. Source: National Library of Medicine summaries on relationship jealousy and emotional regulation. So here's the twist. It wasn't just the joke at the barbecue that caused Daniel's reaction. It was years of feeling overshadowed, overlooked, and judged. It was private messages, inside jokes, comments from family gatherings. It was thousands of moments where Daniel felt less than. And then my joke, said in front of everyone, wasn't just cruel in the moment. To him, it was proof of everything he had feared about himself for years. At the sentencing hearing, the judge read parts of those old voice memos. The courtroom was quiet. Even Marcus didn't speak. Seeing Daniel sit there, not defiant but visibly shattered, changed something in me. Because I realized that our relationship wasn't built on mutual understanding. It was built on ignorance of each other's emotional scars. I once believed relationships survived on love alone. I believed apologies could fix almost anything. I thought embarrassment was temporary. But what I learned the hard way is that emotional wounds that go unspoken and unresolved can be far more dangerous than physical ones. So let me ask you, when someone hides their pain for years and people around them treat jokes as harmless, at what point should we say something matters? When insecurity goes unaddressed? When comparisons are normalized? When we mistake silence for peace? What do you think? Do you believe there's a line between humor and harm? Between teasing and torment? And now, I need you to subscribe, not just because this story matters, but because there are millions of stories like this one. Stories where small moments hide long histories of hurt. Subscribe if you want more real confessions. Subscribe if you want to understand human emotion at its rawest. Subscribe because the next case is even more disturbing. Thank you for staying with me through this story. And remember, words matter more than we know.